Video later today. Unless there's like big news, probably going to be about. We're probably going to do it on the next chapter of Revelation. And it seems pretty clear after I did my poll. It seems like the vast majority of people want to do Isaiah next. One option that I wish I had put on the poll, which somehow slipped my mind, was the book of Daniel. I think the book of Daniel is very applicable to us specifically right now, after all this talk that we've had about nations coming to an end, having all these high profile leaders of their different nations passing away, which still just blows my mind. And I honestly think that just any day now, Jimmy Carter is probably going to pass away. It would seem so. When I did a poll about that, it seemed like most people thought that he only had days left, like once he went into hospice care. It seems like he's still alive, but every day that goes by, we just get that much closer to him passing away. And once that happens, I feel like that's going to be a significant sign because it's part of this series of all these leaders from the Soviet Union, Japan, um, what else? The United Kingdom, Greece, China, the Catholic Church. Sherry Johnson, hi from South Carolina. Hello and welcome. So, Jimmy Carter, like he may be what I mean is that as part of that series, he may be the last one of that series, and so that would maybe indicate that something big is happening next after that. Gosh, my hair, holy cow. So, anyway, who all is here and where's everybody from? We got Sherry from South Carolina. I see there's 13 other people that are in the chat right now. Missy Huff, yes, I think Isaiah would be good. After hearing Jen's comment about Bruce R. McConkie telling us to be ready and read Isaiah's words, I feel like I need to do that. Okay, well, that sounds good. Isaiah is a longer book, and he talks about many different things. Let's see, Liwi, I'm here from Minnesota. Welcome. But yeah, so we just got to finish up Revelation. The remaining parts mostly have to do with um, basically about, it has to do with the millennium as well as after the millennium when let's see, Daisy made 222, howdy from Orem, Utah. Hello. It's weird because like, and I've done this before. This was like really early in the channel's history, but we did a video about how there's essentially like two new Jerusalems that are supposed to come down. The first one is the city of Enoch. Okay, that's going to come down at the beginning of the second coming, and that's something to look forward to. Maybe that's one of the events that President Nelson is talking about when he says that the greatest manifestations of the Savior's power that the world has ever seen is going to be between now and when he comes again. It could be in reference to that, the city of Enoch coming back. But anyway, the book of Revelation, we're going to be going over, the last part's going to be going over the end of the millennium and stuff like that. The haystack from Idaho, but considering a move to North Carolina. Whoa. Well, that would be a big move. Keep us up to date with that. AK, thank you for your righteousness and sharing it with those wayward souls like myself. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you feel that way, and I hope that the channel helps you. Sarah Scott, hi from Ohio. Christine McAfee, so many signs, we need to be vigilant. Chris from Mona, Utah. Yeah, that's true. Got to be vigilant, but the most important thing is being spiritually prepared. So wherever you are in your progression, just make sure that you get on the covenant path if you're not on it already, and then progress forward the best that you can down the covenant path. Get to the temple, have your endowments, and all that. Um, Sarah Siley, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us here in Ames, Iowa. Oh, that's just right close by. I'm in Kansas. You're in Iowa. I have a lot of on my dad's side. It's all pioneer ancestry, and the vast majority of them were in Iowa before they came to Utah. They were in, oh my gosh, what's that place called? Canesville, Iowa, or something like that. It's been a while since I've done family history. I was like really into it back at Fort Hood when I was in the Army, but like literally, like all of them basically from came from Iowa to Utah. Some of them before that were in Nauvoo, so that's really cool. I love having that as part of my family history. Not that it makes me or anybody else any better, but it's kind of a special thing having a connection to Nauvoo and the early church. So um, anyway, I wanted to share something that I learned from Rabbi Gerfine yesterday. We had our meeting that we have every other week. We were talking about the temple. I mean, we talk about, man, we talk about so many things. But one thing that I found really interesting was the menorah. Something I hadn't really connected before. And this is according to Judaism, so it's not necessarily our doctrine, but at the same time, it doesn't really go against our doctrine. And I think it could be right. Now, I've discussed on the channel before how it really does seem that those original temples, the first and second temple, were patterned after the human body, where you have the Holy of Holies, which the way that I viewed it before is that the Holy of Holies would be kind of like the head, because you have the Ark of the Covenant in there, which is like the brain. And the Ark of the Covenant has the two angels on top, the two cherubim, um, which very well could represent the two hemispheres of the brain. In fact, I heard one time, and I wish I could point you to a specific source, but I heard one time that those two cherubim were actually representative of a male and a female in an embrace, you know, and that's how our brains are. What one side is more female, one's more male. One is stronger in like spatial skills, logic, uh, stuff like that, right? Whereas the other side is more um, artistic, abstract, so it kind of goes along masculine, feminine lines. And so what you have in the Ark of the Covenant is you have the Ten Commandments, the two tablets, which is like having the law in your mind, as well as the staff of Aaron, again in remembrance, and then a jar of manna, again in remembrance. It's like keeping those things in your mind, the things that God has done for Israel in your mind, right? And so going out from the Holy of Holies, you have the menorah, which I always associated more with like the heart, because it's like um, it's lit, with light. You have uh, the incense altar, which is like the prayers going up to heaven. So it's like the mouth, or like or that could also be like the heart. And then the showbread table as like a stomach, right? And then going out from there, outside you have the big laver of water. During the time of Solomon's temple, it was uh, I think it was called the Brazen Sea, if I'm not mistaken. But essentially, it's like what our baptismal fonts are like in temples nowadays, with the 12 oxen at the bottom. And there's debate about what that was actually used for. Some think that it was for washing the priests, after they were done doing sacrifices, or preparing, ritually cleaning themselves to do sacrifice. But you know, the way that we view it now, how we've moved that down into the basement of the temple, and how it's used as a baptismal font, that would represent essentially a birthing area of a woman, right, where children come out. So it's all patterned after the human body essentially. And in those days, with the first and second temple, as well as the tabernacle, the body was laying down, like as though it's like on its back, looking up, like it's dead, in a dead position. But once Christ came, and now that we have modern temples, the temples are not structured like that anymore. Now, typically, what you have is you have the celestial room, which would correspond to the Holy of Holies, usually at the highest point of the temple, like the highest room, more or less, as though the body is now not dead, but it's resurrected and it's upright. It's alive now because Christ came. So there's a lot of interesting things to think about with that. Um, and I was talking to Rabbi Gerfein yesterday, and we were talking about this concept, and he pointed to the fact that the menorah has 7 candles, right, or seven places where there's flames, and he talked about the fact that we have essentially 7. Like if you look at the human body, where do you see 7? And he asked me that, and I was like, I don't know. Does the heart have 7 of something? I know that the heart has 4 chambers. Is it made up of 7 muscles? Or, and he's like, no, it's not that. And I was like, 7? Where in our body do we have 7? Well, he pointed to the fact that we have our senses, right? And we have 2 ears, we have 2 eyes, we have 2 nostrils, and then we have 1 mouth. And that makes 7. And how, your ear, your eye, your nose, those are senses that are like that's where you have input, right, from the outside world. And yes, the mouth too, because of taste. But if you wrap up taste into smell, because they're very related, then it's kind of, I don't know. This is just what he said. Okay, I'm not making this up. This is what he said. And he talked about how the mouth is an area where things actually come out. Because you don't have things coming out of your ears or your eyes, or at least that's not the way it's supposed to work. Unless like you're like an X-Man, like Cyclops, and you have laser beams coming out of your eyes, then something's either gone really wrong or really right. But how the mouth would kind of correspond to that middle candle of the menorah, and how ideally what you should have coming out of you is light, especially out of your mouth. So in that way of looking at it, the Holy of Holies is more like, up here, this part of your skull where the brain is right here, and then going outside of the Holy of Holies, which is interesting because we have these eyebrows right here. It's like the veil of the temple, in a sense. You come out, and then you have the menorah, which is, according to his interpretation, the 5 or the 7 whatever sensory input and output areas. And then he said that basically the incense table would kind of be the same. Although he got a little bit shaky when I started asking about other things like the altar outside. He's like, oh, I don't know. But he was really like certain about the menorah. You could say that maybe the incense altar is kind of like your heart, where when you're saying a prayer, because it definitely symbolizes prayers going to heaven. That there's no doubt that that's what it means. The incense altar, it's supposed to represent prayers going up to God, and it would be a very fitting thing that it would symbolize the heart, because that's where your prayers really should be coming from. And then the showbread table, he agreed, with my previous interpretation, that it's essentially the stomach. And in some kind of way, I can't remember how he explained it, but he also said that it represented hands too, like hands and stomach, like you work with your hands in order to put food in your stomach. So it's really amazing, and I think that that's probably right. Again, that doesn't go against our doctrine. um, I think it's very insightful, and it makes sense, because a lot of things that in the gospel have to do with the human body, There's a reason why we're shaped like this. It's not just like arbitrary. It certainly isn't the way that science teaches that, everything's just a coincidence or a mistake, or it's just natural selection, it's evolution. No, it's very intentional. And it would seem to me that our bodies themselves represent and symbolize, and no pun intended, embody eternal principles. And there's probably just so much to it that we don't even understand right now. But the human body, men, women, these things all have meaning, and it goes really, really deep, really deep. So anyway, let's get back to the chat here. Um, Phil and Molly awaits. Jared, I sure do love when you have Jen on. I love all the connections she has made. You two are gems. Oh, thank you. And she loves it when you guys say nice things like that. Janet Manning, good morning, Jared from Idaho. How are you doing this morning? I'm doing good. Last night, for some reason, wasn't so good. I was like in a funk all day. Um, I couldn't understand why. There wasn't anything wrong, but I don't know. I just got a good night of sleep, and that's kind of all I needed, I think. So, Crochet Mama, hello from Southeast Missouri. So good to catch you live. Yes, and I'm glad that you're here. Ellie Marie, sup fam? Question mark? Exclamation part. Okay, whatever. Heart, heart, heart. Ellie, I follow you on TikTok, but you're not following me. So I'm still waiting for that to happen. And I've watched your videos, and they're good. If you guys are on TikTok, make sure to follow me on TikTok, just under Christian Homestead Official, and then also Ellie Marie. Although I can't remember if that's the name on TikTok. I don't think it is. Dang it. Anyway, El Paculi, hello Jared, manifestation, an event, action, or object that clearly shows or embodies something, especially a theory or an abstract idea. Really excited for conference. Yeah, aren't we all? Ellie Marie, conference is on some crazy dates, and the Mazzaroth is wow. And Easter is 17 Nissan. Oh my gosh, yeah. Ellie Marie, Torah calendar based on first sighting of the silver of the new moon. Conferences on 9 Nissan, Mary anointing, and 10 Nissan, Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday, triumphal entry, Joshua crossing the Jordan with the Ark of the Covenant. Passover lands on April 6th. Woo! Phil and Molly awaits. The senses and initiatories seem to go together. Yeah, they do. Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's a really powerful insight. Yeah. Ellie Marie, the ancient temple was laid out like a body. Holy of Holies was the head. Ellie Marie, isn't the mouth the veil? I mean, I don't know. As far as like what our church teaches, I'm not sure if it really goes into that kind of stuff. I think they, I don't know. I don't know. So, who knows? For right now, I think what I'm going with is the eyebrows being the veil, which is actually really perfect because, eyebrows are like, they're not fabric, but they're, as far as like the human body goes, the closest thing that you get to fabric or a veil or anything like that is the hair that we grow. So I think that's how I'm going to be looking at it at this point. Ellie Marie, Hindu temples are also laid out looking like a body. Ellie Marie, oh shoot, I'll follow you. Yay. Yeah, good. Finally. Jeez. Ellie, I like that video that you. In fact, I think I favorited it. I added it to my favorites. I like that video that you did where you're doing like you Mormons, you're following a different Jesus. What are we gonna do with you? I don't know. Good job with that one. That's funny. And I saw that other one that you did where you were talking about crashing uh, ex-Mormon live stream. And just so everybody knows, when I say crash, she just was listening in on it and understand, like feeling their point, their feelings and why they feel the way that they do, and just being respectful and understanding that things people happen to people. Not like saying that they're right about the church, but just like having an understanding and empathy for them. So that was good too. Uh, Byro Kinsman, hello from still snowy Idaho. I'm sorry about that. Look at what we're like right now. I'm not trying to like make you jealous, but just everything's nice. Um, I don't know what the temperature is, but it feels like it's maybe like 50, between the 50s and 60s Fahrenheit, of course. Uh, Ellie Marie, I'm thinking more symbolic words, Vale, wink, wink. You know, the interesting thing about when you say Hindu temples, uh, we know, or at least if you've looked into it, you know that Egyptian temples are very similar to the first and second temple. And of course, you know, the secular academics and scholars and researchers and archaeologists and whatever will say, well, it's because the Israelites, they copied the Egyptians, and they copied the different mythologies of these different places. But we know in the Pearl of Great Price, we learned the origin story of Egypt, and how they had an imitation priesthood, and that would seem to include temples. It's really, in fact, I might do a video about that sometime, because I was looking at it, and it's so interesting when you look at some of these Egyptian temples, because it's very similar to the first and second temple. Um, and so I'm not surprised, I guess, that the Hindus also would have that, and other places too, because this the original, no, I don't want to say the original religion, but, well, let's just call it that. The ancient religion, the true, you know, what we have now, but anciently, uh, that was copied and imitated by other nations and peoples and stuff like that. So you would expect to see similarities, um, all the way down to today, similarities in religion. Okay, Ellie Marie, ha ha ha, I got so much hate. Laugh out loud. Oh, Jenica's here. There she is back there. I'm gonna take off in just a second. Crochet Mama, a man's beard is like a veil. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that's another thing. When I think about those temples, the tabernacle, first and second temple, I tend to see them as female, because, like I said, the baptismal font. Not that they necessarily were doing baptisms in with those lavers. Again, from what I've researched, they don't really know. Some think that they could have been a mikvah, which is a baptismal font. That's just the Jewish name for a baptismal font. Because, you know, men don't have babies, women do. And so if you have a mikvah, it would make sense that the temple would be symbolically female, which kind of makes sense, because if the temple represented the church, meaning Israel, if it represented us in our fallen and dead state, like being dead spiritually and physically, then when Christ came, he made it so that we lived afterwards, and we were now upright, and that's how we see our modern temples. If you're joining the stream now, we talked about how the body of the temple was laid flat and on its back, symbolically speaking, and now it's like upright, as though it's alive. And now you have the mikveh, or you have the brazen sea, or whatever you want to call it. Now it's not on ground level. Now it's below ground level because now the celestial room is up here. It's usually at the highest point of the temple, typically, and now the mikvah is now beneath the ground. So the temples nowadays are clearly upright, like they're alive, and that would be because of Christ. Anyway, I was just thinking about a man's beard, and that definitely is like a veil. I'm kind of getting blown away by the eyebrow kind of imagery though, because I've always wondered, why eyebrows. I guess from like a biological sense, they kind of help protect your eyes a little bit. I think that's what they're supposed to do. Just like eyelashes, they're supposed to kind of like catch particles. I think I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Um, Kimberly Olson, hi from windy, snowy Wyoming. Oh, it's windy too. It's the worst. Ellie Marie, 100%. All over the world, we find repeating patterns, similar rituals, symbols, etc. Very cool. All coming from ancient truths. The haystack, the world doesn't receive restorations very well. No. Ellie Marie, the woman made the ancient veils, and boy, do we have mouths on us. Just kidding, kinda. That's really cool about the ascension of the temples. P.S. Mazzaroth, Kygis, or Cygis, I'm not sure. The cross this weekend, right before conference, is raised in the heavens. See, the problem is I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll look it up. I know that you're onto something there. Lewis or Lois Leonard. The Egyptians also wore a garment, apparently. Yeah, there's a lot of. If you look at the Interpreter Foundation, they're super good. They're really good. I love the Interpreter Foundation, and they've had this what they call Temple on Mount Zion conferences, and they've had a number where they talk about ancient Egypt and like their rituals and just like similarities between that, and they don't like explicitly say it, but you can see similarities between them and the modern day temple and the church and stuff like that. The haystack temple laid down like Adam, when then up after the rib is removed. Deep sleep is over. Christ, the woman, uh, as a helpmeet. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Byro Kinsman, eyebrows keep sweat from getting in your eyes. I'm sure they have other purposes. Ah, yes. Yes. That's true. And unfortunately, they don't work good enough in my case. Because if they did, I wouldn't have had as many problems in the army. Ellie Marie, Cygnus looks like a cross. It perfectly matches the layout of the Giza pyramids. Friday night, the cross will raise to the meridian in the heavens, perfectly upright like Jesus on the cross. Oh, you're talking about a constellation? That's what you're talking about, a constellation? Because now that's kind of ringing a bell. Yeah, Cygnus. Yep, 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 yep. And she says, yep. Ellie, you know what? I would like to maybe have you on sometime if you'd want to. And sorry, I'm not trying to like make anybody else upset, but like she's been with the channel for a long time, and I can tell she knows a lot of things. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, Ellie, send me a email and we can get that set up. But I think we could have a really good conversation. Um, your Christian homestead approved. I think that you'd be good to have on the show. Okay, guys, I need to take off now. Now we're gonna go to Costco. Um,
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Talk to you guys later.